Hi, my name's Eric, and I'll be reading you selections from the e-edition of today's Fall River's Herald News, dated Wednesday, December 31st of 2025. It's New Year's Eve. I hope you have plans to ring in a healthy and safe new year. It's going to be very cold this week, and tonight is no exception. Today, clouds and sun, very breezy, high of 39 expected, a low of 20 in the overnight, so do bundle up if you're going out. On Thursday, tomorrow, New Year's Day, partly sunny, high of 35, in the overnight, a low of 16. On Friday, partly sunny and cold, high of 32, a low of 17. Saturday, mostly sunny, high of 36, a low of 16 again. On Sunday, high of 36, a low of 18. So you can hear from those overnight numbers, it's going to be quite chilly at night. Good week and weekend to stay bundled up. Maybe go out during the day tomorrow, and certainly if you have friends or a place to go tonight, stay inside and stay warm. I would not stare at a ball in New York for all the money in the world tonight. It is going to be chilly. And it is worth noting, I read this yesterday, that there will be 2 ball drops for the first time ever in New York City at midnight for the traditional one ringing in the new year, and then one at 12:04 to commemorate America's 250th semi-quincentennial, which is never been done before. And they will do the same thing on July 3rd for the U.S.'s 250th anniversary. So, some history being made in New York for those who are willing to stand out in the teen-degree weather. Heading to the front of the paper, market rate housing will grow by 400 units. This is part of the 2026 Economic Development Forecast by Emily Sherney in Fall River. Housing stock is being created all the time, and new projects in the works promise to bring over 400 units to the city, despite the ever-rising costs of construction and labor forecasted in 2026, said Bristol County Economic Development Consultants Executive Vice President Ken Fiola. But hundreds of new apartments hardly compares to the demand for 5,000 units over the course of the next 5 years. That may see some relief, based on projections of 1,500 units made available along the Route 79 Duval corridor once the waterfront strip is developed. In 2024, Fall River had a low 1.2% vacancy rate as demand kept pace with supply. As for cost, to Fiola, what the market is bearing is naturally affordable. If you want to create more affordable or subsidized housing, that's when the adjacent towns need to step up, Fiola said. Fall River's Community Development Agency, which oversees income-restricted housing options, reported that the 2025 number of affordable and subsidized units in Fall River rests at 4,621 units, or 10.45% of the city's housing stock. That compares with Somerset's 3.69%, Swansea's 4.5%, and Westport's 6.87%. Market rate housing is a popular choice for developers, commonly selling amenities and perks to apartment hunters, which commands a higher monthly rate over other income-restricted or affordable housing options. Fiola said it can introduce a new housing to the city without displacing anyone. In 2025, several rehab projects yielded new additions to the housing stock, with several more gaining the approval of city boards and entering construction phases in 2026. Developer and founder of Mascan Capital, Ed Hamzanloui's most advanced project in the South Coast is slated to transform the Globe yarn mills at 460 Globe Street into 89 new apartments. In July, the project was in its pre-construction phase. The mill, which housed a billiards club and flea market, is slated to be transformed into a building for people who are actually working, with 4 studio apartments, 57 one-bedroom units, and 28 two-bedroom units. It received the go-ahead for parking relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals in March. The historic mill complex at 1 Middle Street that formerly housed Algonquin Printing will see construction in 2026, Fiola said, as one of the remaining mills in Fall River that can be repurposed for housing. The Merrill Building at 66 Troy Street debuted dozens more market rate units in July as the newest development on the downtown Lofts block, all within walking distance of local businesses and near public transit, owned by developer Anthony Cordero of the Cordero Group. Other downtown Lofts projects close by, including 295 Bedford Street's groundbreaking on September 15th, and others planned for next year, will see about 200 more apartments coming online. In September, Cordero expected to close on the former Sylvia School property on Hartwell Street. A fire of the long vacant property led to demolition of one building, but the company will knock down the rest. By February or March of 2026, Cordero said they'll be setting the foundation for 2 buildings on Hartwell Street. And the old Duval School finds a buyer. According to an official request for proposals documents from October, John Ferreira of Contractors Landing, LLC, has an eye for turning the 3-story former school into 16 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. As we told you yesterday, I believe that story, that was the focus of a story in yesterday's Herald News. Built in 1892, the Duval School was said to be structurally sound at the time of its appraisal as a decommissioned public school property. In November of 2024, the city regained ownership of the former school for $1, taking it back from the Flint Neighborhood Association by exercising a reverter clause in the original sales agreement. The old Duval School had sheltered the Gates of Hope food pantry until the property was transferred back under the city's control. At the July 17th Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, a petition to convert the former Holy Union of the Sacred Hearts Convent and Carriage House on Rock Street into 12 residential units with the potential to be condominiumized was given the go-ahead, but not without stony pushback from neighbors who called on several municipal departments to scrutinize the plans sprouting in a protected 40C historic district. Corporation Counsel Alan Rumsey and his wife Maria purchased the convent, carriage house, and rear building at 550 and 570 Rock Street with the goal of preserving the historic character of the structures while proposing the property for residential use. The project, listed under Rumsey's Rockview LLC, was in the planning stages by late summer. Beacon Hill-based real estate developer Carolyn Hworth is in the process of reimagining the former Cherry and Webb building at 139 South Main Street, assigning the property new significance similar to its old status as a beloved retail outlet, activate downtown, and invite residents to settle in and stabilize the heart of the city. In June, the Zoning Board of Appeals gave its unanimous support to Hworth's firm, Little Tiger Capital LLC of Boston, in applying for a variance to convert the commercial setting to mixed use with 70 market rate units and 7 commercial and professional office spaces. Boston-based developer Vitaly Fedosik and his Providence-based counterpart behind the proposed 8-story building at 577 to 609 Duval Street at Duval and Turner Streets have been granted the approval by the city's Zoning Board of Appeals at the October 16th meeting to build 160 new apartments along the Duval Corridor and the MBTA South Coast Rail. Hajar Management Company, a real estate development company responsible for an influx of housing in the Flint with the lofts at Lafayette and the rehabilitation of the Sacred Heart Church on Linden Street, has secured tax increment financing on a 22-unit South End property, Fiola said. Another 22 units, credit of developer Monty Ferris, will enter the construction phase in spring of 2026 at 80 to 84 North Main Street, at the location of a former bank adjacent to the Fall River Public Library. The Fall River Housing Authority, current owners of the barren 10-acre field at the corner of Rodman and Warren Streets, say there's not much to report about the once-developed site in Fall River's Niagara neighborhood, once a public housing project that was demolished in 2013. The latest case is an amalgamation of inherited legal issues related to the undeveloped land and is aimed at the Fall River Housing Authority and the city for failure to make good on an agreement to build at least 80 units for low-income families, veterans, and the elderly. A mediation by a judge could potentially end a years-long lawsuit that's left the former Watupa Heights housing project property in legal limbo in less than a month, and pave the way for that 10-acre property at Rodman and Warren Streets to be reused. There's a law in the books that says it needs to be 26 single-family homes and that the developer needs to be a nonprofit, said CDA Executive Director Michael Dion during a City Council meeting on November 19th. According to Fiola, ongoing rehabilitation of existing three-family homes can bring new rentals online, opening alternatives to renting with commercially managed development properties. The state's legalization of accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, said Fiola, may also help alleviate market strain and could be gaining steam as the year goes forward, Fiola said, by removing prospective renters from the demand surge, where college-aged or elderly populations may live close to relatives in accessory structures on single-family properties. Also on the cover, the headline reads, "More about housing. The Flint could thrive with funding," by Emily Sherney in Fall River. The city's quasi-public redevelopment authority board has been working to expand some of the same efforts it relied on to revitalize and redevelop North and South Main Streets to various degrees of success in the hopes of tuning the commercial and residential appeal of Fall River's Flint neighborhood into an economic engine. I'm guessing that's supposed to be turning the commercial and residential appeal, but they wrote tuning, so maybe it is being tuned into, well, yeah, you tune an engine, tuning into an economic engine. During a December 17th meeting, the RDA's pending Transformative Development Initiative, or TDI, district application through Mass Development is awaiting review by the Mass Environmental Protection Agency, the Mass EPA, which could significantly expedite housing plans when it comes to land transfers, permitting, or financial assistance, and unlock many multifaceted improvements in proposed urban renewal sites like the Flint. In the days after the meeting, RDA Executive Director Sarah Page said, "We may very well not be approved for a TDI district in the Flint, as South Main Street is, and if that is the case," she said, "community partners, including local businesses and nonprofits, would need to continue to collaborate, volunteer, and rely on the city to seek other funding sources." So what is a TDI district? According to Mass Development's website, the TDI program is intended to focus and accelerate economic development in targeted city areas. These districts, usually located in gateway cities, are walkable, dense environments that have the potential to attract investments, which can then speed up growth and stability in a community. The initiative provides funding, resources, and grant programs to community members and small businesses in need of support. Here's what a TDI district in the Flint would do. Through Mass Development, a TDI district would entitle the Flint to the time and talents of a TDI fellow, an expert well-versed in economic development who could guide the 3-year initiative with experience and connect property and business owners to grant funding that could help launch their projects. Health First Family Care Center, Inc.'s Chief Executive Officer Lisa Jones has offered to be a fiscal agent for the Flint's prospective venture as a TDI zone and is willing to allow a fellow to use unoccupied office space to serve the community from a central location. American Rescue Plan Act money, ARPA, that once flowed through the city's Community Development Agency to fund the storefront facades of several Flint businesses is gone. But TDI funding, said Page, could fund facades for 8 more business owners looking to give their customer-facing brick-and-mortar stores an upgrade. That's one of the first things we would go after, Page said at the board's December 17th meeting. If no district is established, opportunities for progress are still in play. Page said community partners like the Fall River Museum of Contemporary Art and the Fall River Arts and Culture Coalition could pave the way for volunteer opportunities to take root in the Flint. To Page, Health First's center at 387 Quarry Street is a key partner, in addition to the Roderick's Dental Group at 1395 Pleasant Street, or the nonprofit The Spectrum Empowerment Project at 1641 Pleasant Street. Establishing a TDI district and having the support of a fellow would ultimately help accelerate the coordination of partnerships, Page said. Gloria Sadler, a Community Revitalization Project Program Fellow for the Fall River CDA, has instilled a sense of pride among her Flint neighbors with the work she's done with the sponsorship of Bloomberg Philanthropies and the Love Your Block grant program. Sadler has spearheaded efforts to bring the Flint neighborhood together via community gardening at Father Travassos Park, graffiti cleanups, and fireside chats that enable trust between residents and City Hall, noted Page. In June, she awarded 4 Flint nonprofit organizations with mini grants of $5,000 to target community concerns, improve deteriorating spaces, and enhance community pride. Page said Sadler's work has gotten lots of people out volunteering, including the Cambodian community of Fall River and Bristol Black Collective, 2 groups, among many others, instrumental in bringing people together in a wonderful way to display a real commitment to the neighborhood. The RDA, said Page, is hoping to bring on a TDI fellow in the Flint before Sadler's fellowship concludes in a year. That's all the local news, other than a different kind of local news, which we move to now, which are the obituaries and death notices that are listed in the Fall River Herald News of that day. And there is one obituary in today's New Year's Eve edition of the Herald News. It's of Marilyn Richardson Humphrey of Tiverton, who at the age of 88 passed on December 28th. She was born February 4th, 1937 in Boston, Massachusetts. After graduating from the University of Massachusetts, she spent her career as a dedicated school teacher and later fulfilled her passion for bringing people together as the owner of the travel company Clipper Travel. Affectionately known as Mal, she was known for her kindness, her humor, and her generosity. Her desire to bring people together began in college, where she served as president of her sorority, Pi Beta Phi. That passion for connection continued throughout her life, from coordinating trips with her husband Bill and closest friends to hosting family gatherings that were filled with warmth and laughter. Mal had a deep love for the sport of tennis, which she actively played with family and friends in Tiverton and Little Compton. She was an active member of the Saconnet Golf Club, Warren's Point Beach Club, and the Saconnet Point Club. She enjoyed needle pointing and making pottery, while her happiest moments were spent around the holidays with her family and in St. Croix, where she retired with Bill. She is survived by her husband, William Bill Humphrey, and many family and friends who will miss her dearly. A private burial will be held at a future date. In lieu of flowers, any donations may be made to the Alzheimer's Association, P.O. Box 96011, Washington, D.C., 20090, in Mal's memory. And that concludes the obituaries that are listed in today's Fall River Herald News of December 31st. A little bit more about the weather. Great Lakes in the Northeast may see more snow, by Janine Santucci. Most of the country will see dry weather for New Year's Eve, but snow, rain, or wind could disrupt holiday travel in parts of the Midwest, Northeast, and California, forecasters warned. After blizzard conditions swept across much of the northern part of the country, much of the U.S. mainland will enter a period of relatively tranquil weather, the National Weather Service said ahead of New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But some of the same regions hit by heavy snow, power outages, and travel delays won't see any reprieve. A blast of Arctic air will bring freezing temperatures as far south as the Tampa, Florida area, while an additional several feet of snow is expected across the Great Lakes region over the next couple of days, the National Weather Service said. In the west, a recently rain-soaked Southern California could see additional flash flooding from rain that will dump on several southwestern states, the Weather Service said. While there will be pockets of poor travel through New Year's Day, much of the country will have good travel conditions following the back-to-back winter storms that swept through part of the Midwest and Northeast, AccuWeather meteorologist Elizabeth Danko said. Lake effect snow, which develops when cold air blows over a relatively mild lake to create heavy snow downwind, could bring 1 to 2 feet of snow and up to 3 feet in some areas downwind of Lakes Ontario and Erie over the next couple of days, the National Weather Service said. Lighter snow is expected to stretch down into the Ohio Valley, reaching the central Appalachians by New Year's Day. Chicago, Detroit, and Minneapolis could face airport delays. Cities across the Northeast, including New York, Boston, and Philadelphia, could see snow and gusty winds on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, AccuWeather reported. Snow squalls could cause sudden whiteout conditions in interstates between the Great Lakes and Appalachians. In Times Square on New Year's Eve, flurries and wind chill temperatures in the teens or lower are possible, Danko said. The cold air will spread along the I-95 corridor, including across the Mid-Atlantic region, with temperatures 5 to 10 degrees below normal, AccuWeather reported. The Weather Service, serving Baltimore and the nation's capital, said dry and chilly conditions are expected throughout the region for New Year's Eve. Light snow or flurries are possible in some areas into early New Year's Day. A blast of cold air impacting much of the country will bring freezing or near-freezing temperatures as far south as Louisiana and Florida into the new year, forecasters said. Meanwhile, mild temperatures will blanket the northern and central plains into New Year's Eve, the Weather Service said. As of now, no snow is anticipated for tonight in Boston or the Cape or on the South Shore, on the South Coast, but cold temperatures are forecast and there may be some light snow blowing through tomorrow. And the two letters most heard in 2025 and maybe even 2024, AI. Investors are buying into AI, bubble or not. Analysts warn of volatility in tech stocks, by Daniel Devisay of USA Today. If one theme has suffused the stock market in 2025, it might be this paradox. Investors know all about the AI bubble, but they're buying AI stocks anyway. In a new survey by the Motley Fool, 93% of investors with AI stocks said they plan to hold or expand those investments over the next year. Only 7% plan to decrease their AI holdings. I think most investors view AI as transformative technology, game-changing technology, said Asit Sharma, a senior investment analyst at Motley Fool. But talk of the AI bubble is everywhere. The stock prices of the Magnificent Seven tech giants, those are Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla, grew by 698% between 2015 and 2024, compared with 178% return for the S&P 500 as a whole, according to the Motley Fool. Some market observers warn that outsized expectations about artificial intelligence have driven those gains. AI stocks are overpriced, but investors don't care. Largely because of the Magnificent Seven's stupendous growth, the stock market is historically overvalued. In consumer terms, stocks are overpriced. But how big is the bubble? Consider a metric called the cyclically adjusted price-to-earnings ratio. It measures whether stocks are overvalued or undervalued. As of December 23rd, the CAPE, which is what the cyclically adjusted price-to-earnings ratio stands for the S&P 500, it stands at 40.59. Historically, the only time the ratio ranged higher was at the peak of the dot-com bubble in 1999 and 2000, and that bubble eventually burst. Despite the bubble talk, AI stocks have continued their ascent in 2025. Nvidia was up about 36% through December 23rd. Alphabet was up about 66%. Investors keep buying AI stocks, even though many believe the stocks are historically overpriced. In the Motley Fool survey published December 15th, 2/5 of investors said they believe AI stock prices reflect a speculative bubble rather than a sustainable trend. The survey reached 2,600 adults. In another survey, the financial journalism site Investopedia found that 2 in 3 of its readers believe AI-related stocks are overvalued. That December survey reached 815 investors. When Investopedia asked readers to pick one stock to own for the next decade, most of them named companies in the Magnificent Seven. Most of our readers in our survey feel like AI stocks and AI-related stocks are in a bubble, said Caleb Silver, editor-in-chief of Investopedia. But when we ask them what's in their portfolio, it's those same stocks. The AI paradox has investors torn. Some have sat on the sidelines avoiding those stocks for fear of a bubble, only to watch them soar. And others have invested heavily in AI, and now they're looking to bail out. There are certainly people on both ends of the spectrum, said Jonathan Swanberg, a certified financial planner in Houston. On one side, you have performance chasers that will look at their year-end statements and want to own more of the things that did the best. On the other, you'll have people who are scared about the next crash, and they want to reduce exposure to the names that have had the most success. Runaway AI stock values presume that artificial intelligence will eventually generate prodigious revenue for the companies investing in the technology. The naysayers contend that, to date, the payoff has yet to arrive. One influential 2025 report from MIT found that for all of the billions of dollars invested in generative AI, 95% of the organizations involved, quote, are getting zero return, end quote. Meanwhile, analysts predict AI companies will take on more than $1 trillion in cumulative debt to fund AI projects, money borrowed on the promise of speculative returns. Arguments against an AI bubble focus on the robust revenue of tech giants. NVIDIA, for example, reported record revenue of $57 billion in the third quarter of 2025. Supporters of the Magnificent Seven note that their operations range far beyond AI. Amazon, for example, operates a vast online marketplace among many other interests, in addition to its AI pursuits. Alphabet runs Google. If all of the AI momentum suddenly came to a stop in their businesses, they wouldn't go anywhere, Sharma said. So what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Analysts warn that ongoing AI jitters will seed volatility in AI stocks, bubble or not. NVIDIA's stock price has seesawed over the course of 2025. If an AI bubble bursts in 2026 or beyond, investors can expect a big drop in some or all of their tech stocks. When the dot-com bubble burst in 2000, the tech-heavy NASDAQ ultimately lost more than 3/4 of its value. Many dot-com companies went bust. Many big players survived, and their stocks eventually recovered. The same scenario could play out with AI. The key, stock analysts say, is being ready to ride out a bubble. Investors, after being aware of this risk, are deciding to invest for the long term, Sharma said. They're confident that the technology itself is going to produce value. And with that, we've come to the end of our reading of the Fall River Herald News for today, Wednesday, December 31st of 2025. It's New Year's Eve tonight. I hope you all have a very safe and a very warm and happy New Year. This is your reader, Eric, saying be well, be safe, look after each other, and remember our veterans, especially those we've lost recently. Bye for now.